was moving too slowly, but the fall of Ramadi has galvanized the Iraqi government. So with the additional steps I ordered last month, we're speeding up training of ISIL forces, including volunteers from Sunni tribes in Anbar province.
It is actually now a fact that the West and the allies of the United States, Saudi Arabia, Kuwait, Qatar, and the United Arab Emirates are financially sponsoring the same people, the people in ISIS, whom the same governments claim that we need to be afraid of. Take a look at this clip.
Look, ISIS got started through funding from our friends and allies.
It really comes down to building a coalition so that what the Arab Muslim world sees is them rejecting ISIS, not
They
us
already
defeating
reject
them.
ISIL. Do you know any major Arab ally that embraces ISIL?
I know major Arab allies who fund them.
Based on our data, I provided examples of the financing of different Islamic State units in different countries by private individuals. Financing, as we have established, comes from 40 countries, and there are some of the G20 states among them.
Hillary Clinton admitted this. Take a look.
We also have a history of kind of moving in and out of Pakistan. I mean, let's remember here, the people we are fighting today, we funded 20 years ago.
Hillary Clinton actually admitted that the US created Al-Qaeda. But if Al-Qaeda has been created by the US, what do you think of ISIS? Well, while ISIS is definitely without a shadow of doubt being financially sponsored in order to get rid of Assad in Syria, I have found a document which I don't believe many people have seen it yet. And I am wondering why this has not been major news in the media. Because a revealing light on the West's involvement with ISIS is shown by a recently declassified secret US intelligence report written in August 2012. And let me remind you, this was years before ISIS came onto the world stage. I'm going to show you now some screenshots from the document, and they are going to shock you because they shocked me. So first of all, speaking about the general situation, they point out in point A that internally events are taking a clear sectarian direction. What is that? Point B. The Salafists. Now, who are the Salafists? The Salafists are those who are trying to perpetrate a violent jihadism. They are trying to get in the Sharia law and the Caliphate. All right, so the Salafists and the Wahhabists, they are both the same thing basically. The Muslim Brotherhood and the AQI, the Al-Qaeda in Iraq, are the major forces driving the insurgency in Syria. So why is this important? Well, it shows that extreme Muslim terrorists, Salafists, Muslim Brotherhood, and the AQI have always been, quote, the major forces driving the insurgency in Syria. So the question is, are there any moderate rebels? Yes or no? Obviously not. So who are the ones that are supporting these rebels? We got the answer clearly in point C. It says that the West, who are the West? Well, the United States of America, United Kingdom, France, Germany, and all of these countries, Gulf countries, and Turkey support the opposition. Who are the opposition? It is the major forces that are driving the insurgency in Syria. It's the Muslim extremists, while Russia, China, and Iran support the regime. Isn't that fascinating? The West is sponsoring financially, admitted in the document, but also militarily, these Muslim extremists, including ISIS. And the document even states the future assumption of the crisis being that the regime will survive and have control over Syrian territory. Do you get that? This document, having been written in August 2012, said that the regime in Syria will not fall. Yet the West is doing everything to overthrow Assad, and now with Russia bombing ISIS down there, everything can go so wrong. And on the last page, almost as a conclusion of it, everything that we have now spoken of, comes the effects of what Iraq has. Now, the document says in point C that if the situation unravels, there is the possibility of establishing a declared or undeclared Salafist principality. Do you get that? Salafist principality. What is that? That is the caliphate. That is jihadism, enforcing Sharia law, a reign of terror for those who are not practicing the Islam. And this is basically an attack upon Christianity, upon all other religions which were based in Syria. And this is exactly what the supporting powers to the opposition want in order to isolate the Syrian regime. And then, as you can see down, speaking about ISIS in yellow, it says that ISIS could also declare an Islamic state through its union with other terrorist organizations in Iraq and Syria. So Sharia law and a caliphate can be accomplished. And do you remember what we read? This is exactly what the supporting powers to the opposition want. In other words, the powers supporting the Syrian opposition, the West, our Gulf allies in Turkey, wanted to have an Islamic caliphate in order to challenge the Syrian President Assad. But the declassified documents show that the US and the West supported ISIS at its inception. Written in 2012, ISIS came along slowly around, became a world power around 2013. And this was a way to isolate the Syrian government. So no wonder we should not be surprised when President Obama is military sponsoring these terrorists by dropping 50 tons of ammunition last month to give it to the so-called rebels. But hey, I have news for you. These rebels are the ones that are fighting against Assad. And who are fighting against Assad? It is ISIS. And this drop of ammunition happened exactly when Russia had decided that they are going to bomb ISIS. These people truly want war.
About this report about Syrian rebels and the ceasefire with ISIS, Senator
But that's
Paul.
not true.
Well,
it's not true.
It's
you want
not
me to read
true.
From the, whether I don't care about the report. I know these people intimately. We talk to them all the time. But also, let me point out that if we are going to conduct a conflict the way you are describing it, and I'm afraid that's the case, this is reminiscent of Vietnam, the gradual escalation that ended up in one of the worst defeats that America has ever suffered.
Let me ask you about what your colleague Rand Paul said about it this morning. He said it's a mistake to arm them. Most of the arms that we've given the so-called moderate rebels have wound up in the hands of ISIS because ISIS simply takes it from them, or it is given to them, and we mistakenly actually end up giving it to some radicals. Look, things are very...
Has Rand Paul ever been to Syria? Has he ever met with ISIS? Has he ever met with any of these people? No. We're going to have a fight because it's patently false. This is the same Rand Paul that said we didn't want to have anything to do with anything to do in the Middle East, by the way. I don't want to get in a fight with him at all. Yeah. But it's not true. I know these people. I'm in contact with them all the time.
was moving too slowly, but the fall of Ramadi has galvanized the Iraqi government. So with the additional steps I ordered last month, we're speeding up training of ISIL forces, including volunteers from Sunni tribes in Anbar province.